Hello everybody. This is a brief note to introduce the lecture material that should replace the revision lecture from the 24th of March 2020. Now the lecture is being delivered in the context of the COVID-19 outbreak, which means that some of the details in this lecture material may change, and because of that we need you to check your student emails as regularly as you can, because the university will issue official updates on the conduct of the exams as time progresses. So what follows is the lecture material, or the exam information as we understand it right now. So there are 6 sections to this material, this PowerPoint presentation. The first section is an overview of the unit, and then its learning outcomes. Then some of the content areas that we've covered during the unit. Section 4 will be to do with the exam details, and then a few tips about how to write a good exam answer and how to revise effectively. So to explain those sections in a bit more detail, sections 1 and 2 are full of material that you should already have. So these are bits of information that are already in the unit handbook. So specifically, these are an overview of the unit and what we're trying to achieve in the unit across the range of things that we teach. And also the learning outcomes. So the learning outcomes are the 5 outcomes where you should have developed your learning across the course of the unit itself. All of that information is in the handbook, so it should just be a repeat of things that you have already read. Now section 3 is a way of thinking about the material that we've delivered. Now there are no hints here about the questions that will be asked in the exam, but it's a way of thinking about what we have learned, but in a sort of wider context. So one slide that you might find really useful is slide 10, which has what I think are the roughly 15 topics that we've covered in this unit. And that might help you in structuring your revision, because if you break it down into sort of 15 topics, then that feels a bit manageable and you can tackle 1 or 2 a day. Now section 4 is the section that might be subject to change as things develop. These are pieces of information about the exam itself. Now, this year, 2020, we will not have a sit-down exam. So we will not have to go to an exam hall and sit with 400 other people to sit an exam. Just to take you through the information that we have it at the moment, we think the date of the exam will be the 28th of April, but that is subject to change. The reason it's subject to change is because we're going to allow a period of time for you to be able to complete your exam online, and to avoid having to do 2 different things at once, the exams office may space out some of the exams, and even if you don't currently have an overlap, they may have to move things apart to help other units or other courses. So currently we are planning for the individual differences exam to be held on the 28th of April. Now, how are we going to do this? We are going to set up an area on Moodle where the exam paper will appear 48 hours ahead of the exam date. So you'll have those 48 hours to be able to write your answers, and you'll submit the exam answers to a special area of Moodle on the deadline of the exam. Okay, so more details about that will be coming once everything is nailed down, but that's how we're going to operate this. So we're going to give the exam paper ahead of time, and you'll have up until the deadline of the exam to submit. Just thinking about what the timetable usually looks like. Usually you will have a resit period for people who didn't quite make their mark later in the year. To my knowledge, that's unaffected. That will be sometime in August, but again, details will follow. During the period when the exam paper is active, so between 48 hours ahead of the exam and then up to the time of the exam, unit staff will not be able to answer questions. Okay, so there'll be some form of what politicians call purdah. So we will not be able to answer questions relating to the unit. Up until that point, unit staff will be able to answer questions, and we encourage you to submit questions if you have them. Just thinking about what you are required to do in an exam answer, at the moment we're suggesting that an exam answer is about 1,000 words each. You'll have 2 questions to answer. For each answer, we would expect you to cite sources, so we expect you to have citations in the text of the answer, but we do not expect you to give a references list. So name and date in the text, but no need for a references list after. Thinking about what the exam consists of, this will not be totally different to what you have already expected, so what we've already advertised, which is that there will be 2 sections to the exam, section A and section B. Within each section there will be 3 questions. You will pick one of those questions from each section, so one from section A, one from section B, and answer each one of those. So you must have one answer from section A and one answer from section B. If you write 2 answers for section A, then we'll just submit the maximum score that you got from those, so whichever one you scored most highly in, but score 0 for the for section B, and vice versa if you only answer in section B. So make sure you follow the instructions on the paper. What is section A and section B? So hopefully this has been clear throughout the unit. Section A were the topics on intelligence and personality that were presented before Christmas. So I did most of those lectures. Verity picked up 1 or 2 of them. Section B is everything else. So everything from Christmas up till now. So all of the topics that came up after Christmas. So section A, personality and intelligence. Section B, there's a bit more variety in there, and some topics overlap with intelligence and personality, but really they're about more applied uses of the theory that came up in the first term. Okay, so that's section 4, which is what we currently know to be the structure of the exam and how it's going to be conducted. You will get more information about this once everything is finalised across the whole university, but this is what you should work towards. Now, in section 5, we give hints about how to write an exam answer, and not just about how to write an answer, but how to interpret the question. And there are sections in here about how to understand what we call process words. Process words are the key words in an exam question that tell you what you need to do. So, for example, compare and contrast is a process word, 3 words. Okay, so section 5 will take you through an example drawn from Learning Outcome 3. So Learning Outcome 3 is about understanding the historical and theoretical context of study of individual differences. So if you were thinking about your revision, how you might revise towards a question that that asked about Learning Outcome 3, then you might want to break it down into, well, what are the big theoretical movements in studying individual differences? How might we organise that information? Okay, so that section will take you through how to break down your revision, in a sense, and target your revision towards the learning outcomes. Section 6 is about how to revise, I guess. So it's about how to revise badly. There's definitely some hints about how not to revise, and how not to approach an exam answer. Now, some of the information here, I guess, is a bit less relevant, seeing as we're now going to do this online, but still, It's about managing revision pressure and how to organise reading widely around the subject. There are some tips here about what we look for in a really good answer, and certainly wider reading is one of those things that shows that you've engaged well with the topic and that we would expect to see in a really good answer. Okay, that's it. As you look through this PowerPoint, hopefully it's clear. It feels a bit jumbled. It makes more sense when it's delivered as a lecture, but that's not possible this year. But if you have questions as you go through it and it's not immediately clear, please email me. I'm very happy to answer questions. Or alternatively, if you have a particular topic that you need to ask about, then getting in touch with the lecturer of that topic will be the best thing to do. Other than that, good luck. I hope you are staying safe. I think we're all a bit worried about this coronavirus, but hopefully most of us will be okay, especially if we take the right precautions to protect ourselves and protect people around us. Other than that, good luck.